All right, this is drawing class, or maybe even intro to painting class. Is what I want you to learn is layering colors. Any vivid color does not come straight out of a tube or out of a pencil or whatnot. Vivid and interesting dynamic color comes from layering colors over top of each other. Before we can run, though, we must walk. Before we can walk, we must crawl. The crawling stage should have been previous to this, was learning achromatic, which is, if you remember what achromatic is applying one color to another color. The one color being the paper, the other color being the pencil or charcoal or whatnot. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to choose complementary colors, and we're going to just kind of test coloring. You are going to layer the colors over top of each other to try to get two different tones. You want a highlight and you want a dark. And by using those two colors, you'll get a highlight, a dark, and a shadow. And you're just practicing these concepts on basic two-dimensional shapes, or I should say forms. So if I have green, I got different variants of green. I am going to pick this dark green here. Then the complementary color to that is red. The same colors that I use in my coloring flesh tones. So you want to check which one's darker. You know what? I'm going to go with the lighter one, just to make my job a little easier. All right, make sure these are sharpened. These are not as sharpened as well as I was like. And you are going to make, again, forms with these, basic forms. So I'm going to start with the red because the red's the darkest. And so you're going to want a sphere. Notice that I went light first, and then I started darkening my lines so I get a circle. The camera's at an angle, but if I put my camera over top of it, it's going to seem more like a perfect circle than it is when it's over here at an angle. It's going to seem more as an oval. So it doesn't have to be a perfect circle, it just has to be a circle. The next step, barrage of different forms, of course, would be a cube. Putting a straight line down, angling two lines that are perpendicular in opposite directions, put another straight line going up and down, put another straight line up and down, and then finishing off, and we have some sort of box or cube shape. That is another shape, cylinder. Drawing an oval, going down. A lot of you are going to want to put a straight line. That is not the case. To keep the dimensions, this top has to follow the bottom, so you want a curved line at the bottom. Okay? Pyramid, straight line down, two going up, and then meet in the corner. These are all the shapes I want you to practice. Practice not only once, twice, but 3 times if possible. Just doing it once is not sufficient. You're understanding the concepts. Running it through once, normally you don't get the full understanding. Running over twice, you get a better understanding. Running over a third time, you should have it down pretty well. Just because I said you should doesn't mean you do. Some concepts are easier to grasp than others. It all depends on the person and depends on the point of view. So as we're going through here, then you're going to want to shade. Remember that I told you that shading, light is bouncing all over the place. So I'm going to go ahead and outline an oval on where the shadow should be for the sphere. Light's going to be coming from this direction. So light's going to be hitting the ball and bouncing off, bouncing out. Light that misses the ball is going to bounce off on the flat surface that is behind it. And it's going to reflect onto the side of the ball. So it's going to come here and it's going to reflect up and whatnot, depending on where all the light's coming from. So I don't want to put my darkest shade here. I want it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and lay down my color. And I'm going to add a lot of pressure. Okay? Notice that it's getting lighter and I don't even add any here. Why? because that's where my light source, this is where the brightest is going to be. This is where the darkest is going to be. So I'm going to just gently drag in the pencil, applying a little bit of pressure so I can get a nice gradient so it's not going from just a dark to a light, but there's a transition, and I am going to color it in. So I know my hand is probably, let me move the camera a little bit so you might be able to see better. So I am not scribbling. But I know, some of you are like, oh, Mr. Rowe, but you're moving it back and forth, and you're moving it back and forth really fast. But that's scribbling. I'm not scribbling. I want a nice smooth transition is what I would like. So you're going from a dark to a light. This is basically how we would apply it if it was achromatic. Right? My highlight is there, it is down, and I am filling it in, and I'm trying to get the form. See here, I got kind of a diagonal. That means I'm going to come here and smooth that out so I can try to get that more rounded to a rounded form that I want. I'm going to come here at the bottom. This is the light's coming here. The darkest of my shadow should be roughly right underneath where the ball is. And I can go back and add a darkened line here, and more of a darkened line here, and raise my contrast the furthest away. Okay. So the darkest shadow should be just inside of my sphere. Then I can lighten it as I come out. You can see that my shading looks two-dimensional. It looks more like it would in life. Okay. Your next step is then to take the green. The green will be the counter. You're going to go over top of it. It should appear kind of brownish. You can go over it where it's the darkest and try to get a darker tone. Some of the colored pencils we got are not of the highest quality for mixing on paper, but I am looking for the attempt to understand the principles that I'm trying to relay to you. So again, I'm not scribbling, I'm going around in circles, gently putting and adding the color to the texture of the paper. I'm not pressing terribly hard. All the time. So you can see here I'm layering the colors, and we have a nice effect. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, I'm looking for, using the two colors, layering the colors over top of them, getting a dark, a midtone, and a highlight. And this is just practice. You don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to apply yourself to it. So this is priming you up for the next assignment down the road. Right now I'm having you do two colors. Pretty soon we're going to add more colors. So you have an understanding on how to layer colors so you can get a more vibrant, vivid image that's more compelling than just slapping paint onto paper, canvas, and calling it good. I want you to actually learn these techniques so that you can have a higher appreciation of artists and artwork that you may see that you may think is easy but takes a lot of time and dedication. And on top of that, have your artwork be more vivid, more appealing to the eye than just putting paint down and calling it an end product. So this is the start. Colored pencil on paper. Get working.